All right, here we go. Good morning, good morning. Now it's working. You know what? Let's start over. Part two. Here we go. Good morning, everybody. I hope you're having a wonderful Saturday so far. Who do we have out here today? We have Sierra. Hey, good morning, Sierra. Thank you. I'm hoping that the audio is back to working again. If everybody can just confirm that for me. There's always technical difficulties, especially when it's your first cup of coffee and you do not know how to check all the buttons and everything. Good morning, Coralie. It's nice to see you today. Hope you're having a good Saturday. I know, Coralie, you've been really busy recently doing a lot of work. And, there's a lot to do right now. And that's the thing is, there's so much happening in conservation that we have to take a look at our few victories that we have now and then, because our victories are collective victories. It's never a direct action victory in the sense that, we want something today and it happens tomorrow. In conservation, we always have to see that long path, right? And so a lot of the victories that we see come from generations of us raising our voices and changing our habits. So I think it's always important that we take a look at that. Okay, good. Oh, Coralie working. Well, there you go. I wouldn't expect any less, Coralie. You're always out there working for the environment, trying to make a change. And it's people like you that do make a change. And hey, Andrea, good morning. Bună dimineața. That is Romanian for good morning. And all right, well, here we are. I'm glad to see everybody out here this morning. So, what I like to do is I thought, we have to make this a consistent way to get up and just have a good cup of coffee every morning. A lot of us, if you're like me, you can't really talk about conservation to any of your friends, any of your families, not that interested. In general, you start to talk about it and people, their eyes glaze and they change the subject. So that's why I like to have this time with everybody in the morning to talk about positive stories that we can all really put ourselves around. Now, one of them, hey, Camilla, good morning. Nice to see you. Now, one of the more important ones, and it's in the title, is coffee. Coffee is really important to most people around the world. And if you're lucky enough to not drink coffee and not be stuck on it, you're probably drinking tea. We'll get into tea at another one. But coffee itself is an extremely unsustainable crop. Extremely unsustainable. It's very much, and what's amazing is everywhere I went in the world, they have great coffee. Like all throughout Asia, they grow the most incredible coffee. Cambodia is like a coffee-centric culture. Incredible. Hey, Gina, good morning. Nice to see you. I hope you're having a wonderful cup of coffee or tea or maybe lemonade. Trying to think. Yeah, what other kind of yummies everybody might have right now? Let me know what you're drinking, actually. Put a picture up in the comments if you want, or just let us know what you're having. Personally, I'm still on coffee. It's 7:45 here. And I've got my West Virginia mug. That's where my mom lives, and it's one of the most beautiful places I've been in the US. It's gorgeous there. A lot of untouched land. It's amazing. But as we all do start our days with coffee, we need to talk. Oh, Javier, hup, drinking hup, coffee hup. Javier is a good friend for a long time, and always happy when I see him on this morning time. Now I can have my day. Now my day can start because I've had my Jared Weisfelder /Javier, which is actually his name. He may not know it yet, but it is his name. And Javier, wherever you are, hup. Hopefully back up and running now. So we all enjoy coffee, but like I was saying, it's super unsustainable. Now, the good news is a lot of companies are actually stepping forward and starting to create better fair trade practices for coffee. And we talked before about one of the alliances. It's called UTZ, and they do a lot of really good work with rainforests and also the Rainforest Alliance. Both of them are doing that. So when you go for your morning coffee, think about how and where it came from. It's one small change you can make in the morning that'll make a huge change. They always talk about coffee in the sense of economics. If you don't buy that one cup of coffee every day, you'll save this amount of money every year. Well, it's even more so than that. If you make sure the coffee you're buying does not use exploitative practices, and it comes from fair trade, and it's also grown sustainably. And these are big asks, but I'd always nice to see you. Have a good evening. You're all over on the other side of the world, protecting the forests, and I appreciate that. So I hope everything went well today, and it's good to see you on here. Hope to see you in person in this upcoming year. And now the other thing. Sorry, I had to have talking about all that coffee. You got to have a sip of it, right? Did you know that coffee is such a crazy international business? And again, we always think of coffee as this craft thing, but it's such an international business that in Jamaica, they cannot even buy coffee from the Blue Mountain. Blue Mountain coffee is so popular that a Japanese firm has bought the rights to the Blue Mountain range and hire local Jamaicans to pick all the coffee at lower cost, and it all gets exported. When I went to Jamaica, that was one of my favorite things. I said, I cannot wait to go have an amazing cup of Blue Mountain coffee. I've heard about this coffee forever. It's legendary, but you cannot get it in Jamaica due to the internationalization and export of goods. So, I ended up having to walk about a half hour through downtown Kingston, in very dangerous areas. And the only place I could get coffee was this place that sold chicken patties. And they also had really terrible fast food coffee. And that was it. I was like, this is it? I mean, granted, it's really hot on the island, but still, nonetheless, coffee itself. Now, the good news is, like I said, it's a very unsustainable crop. We all use it. If you just think of the amount of coffee used every day. And coffee is wonderful in the end because it's completely compostable. But coffee itself, when you are buying it, if you go to a coffee shop every day, a lot of the nicer coffee shops will let you know where your coffee's coming from and if it was done in a sustainable fashion. And if not, when you're buying it, think about that as well and give yourself a little bit of leeway on the packaging because there's not much you can do. Most coffee does come in very unsustainable packaging. We used to use coffee cans all the time. Like when I was a kid, my mom and I were just talking about this. You buy a coffee can of Folgers or whatever, and then you use your coffee can to save everything. And I remember everything was stored in the garage, had separate coffee cans for different things. So it used to be a lot more integrated. Now it's sort of it's a one-off, and it's part of our single-use culture, and we have to be a little bit more conscious of it. Anyway, let's move on to some other really good news that we have today in conservation world. Now, to stay on the coffee thing, when we talk about coffee, like for example, right now in conservation, we always talk about the field effects, the direct action effects, the effects of the local communities. But we have to remember that it's an international kind of company. And what's even more important is making sure that there is sustainability throughout the entire process. And that part of that involves the buildings that are used. Now, there's a lot of new forms of architecture that are being done to maximize the way that the sun comes into a building, to maximize being able to hold on to the heat inside and heat it. I have a friend that works on architecture, and she always focuses on making sure that these aspects make the buildings more sustainable, which in the end means that they use less electricity. You can't solve it overnight, but the building itself can change everything. And we talked before about how they're trying to build bricks that can store the solar energy, right? So you get your solar on your roof and it comes down into the bricks in your house and then it stores them. Wouldn't it be interesting to go back to a brick after, I remember my grandparents, everything was 50s, was brick. Then everything became aluminum siding. And hopefully it'll go back to brick, storing our solar power, making us more sustainable. So I found this story fascinating today in England. There is a coffee company called Costa Coffee Roastery. And what they're doing is they're transforming it. This is really cool. There is an architectural firm that's coming in and they're redoing it, and they're going to replace this 60,000 square feet of work area that was not really used before. And they're going to make it so that it has more sustainability. It's going to allow more light in, ways to capture the heat, ways to use the building as a living connection to the world around it and use what nature offers. They're even going to put it in a green extruded terracotta outside, which, as you know, is very porous and allows for things to grow really well. So eventually, this building is going to have tons of natural vines and things like that growing all over it. In the middle of it now, on the picture here, you can see to the left is the green building. That's going to be the one. And right above where it says transform, you could see, I didn't get a good enough picture of it, but that's the big eye in London. So this is in like a major area. And what you have here is old versus new. You have this old way of building that you can see surrounded by it all throughout there. That's a very old area in London. And they're going to take this old thing that is just using tons of energy and transform it into something that will reduce its carbon footprint. So they believe that it's going to bring it to a net carbon zero. So that's incredible. If we can start to have architects considering net carbon zero places, that will save things a lot. And, that's one thing we always talk about. Like, we need to talk about solutions, and we can't just make companies the bad guys. They are causing a lot of our problems, but they're also our solutions. The only people that are going to transform or stop giant buildings that are using too much of our energy, or to stop practices that are deadly to our environment and to our next generations, the only way is to ask these companies to stop. And we have to speak their language, which means we have to buy things that show them what we want. Our pocketbooks are our barometers, and they're the only things the companies can understand or read. They're not going to understand a petition. There was a huge petition for Coca-Cola to stop using plastic bottles. They could care less. But if we just stop buying plastic bottle stuff, eventually they're going to waste money on it and say, you know what, we're going to make a change. So that's why I wanted to talk about today. This architectural change is 50 years of collectively raising our voice to demand change. And we're getting it. It's really good news. Camilla said, just need Costa now to only use plant-based milk to be far more sustainable. Excellent. Yes. And that sounds like a really important aspect of it too. Like for me, I just drink my coffee black. And I love it. Even we were in the middle of the Amazon, we could just make a nice pot of coffee. So I never run into that, but there is the whole creamer area of the world as well now. So hopefully these companies can start creating a better sustainable footprint. Hopefully. And that's the key. We need it on a bigger level. Like, we're all conscious and we all raise our voice. But look, it works. Costa, they sound like a very huge company. I'm not familiar with them, but they sound like they'd be a big company. So I'm very happy that they are making that transformation over there. And, I found it everywhere too, though. It's, even in Cambodia, it was fascinating because there's a lot of brand new coffee shops that they put up, and they're all beautiful. They have like these custom coffees, and it's really, really an incredible thing. And a lot of it's done with old school techniques. One of my friends that I met over there in Vietnam actually makes coffee, and he has a coffee farm, and it's pretty incredible. He showed me the harvesting, and they lay it out, in the sun and just let it dry out naturally. By the way, Vietnamese coffee has its own delicious taste that is incredible. Every coffee has its own unique flavor, and I love that about the coffee. I sometimes I don't even need to make the coffee. I just want to chew on the bean a little bit. I don't know. Maybe I just shared a little too much there, but anyway, coffee, everybody, it's something important. It brings us together in the mornings, but it's also changing for the good, and that's positive. And we have to take those victories with us. Remember, if you wanted, Coca-Cola to change overnight, I'm sorry, it's probably not going to happen. But you know what? 3 generations down the line, something will change, and they will be celebrating in our honor. So we have to remember to always think really far ahead. What we're fighting for is frustrating, right, as environmentalists and conservationists, because we don't always see immediate change. But that's okay. The change always comes eventually. So the next one I wanted to share with everybody is the beauty of, we have so many new types of fabrics that we can use now. We were a little bit more stuck, 20, 30 years ago. We have all these great fabrics now. And I just wanted to give you guys a very nice, simple rule that you can use when you're shopping, because it can get overwhelming or confusing sometimes. So I just wanted to give you this good tip here. So as you know, there are all kinds of wonderful materials. There's linen, there's hemp, there is I don't personally recommend wool because I'm a vegan and I don't like anything that comes from animal. But some people are okay with wool, but I personally don't use wool. Bamboo, look, all these other things we have, we don't need to mess with animals. We have natural cotton. We have a lot of things. But as a general rule, if you can read the label, if it requires dry cleaning or treated with chemical flame retardants, avoid buying them because they are not sustainable. It's a good idea to steer clear of polyester as well because it does come from petroleum, and not only petroleum, but plastics. For those that aren't aware, polyester, the basic life course of polyester is in America, say, we throw away our milk jugs, right? Plastic. They go overseas to China. China being one of the other countries that has the technology, just like America, to transform our plastic recyclables into fabrics. It goes down into the teeniest fabric, becomes polyester shirts, gets sent back to America for places like Walmart and Sam's Club and all these places that have the $4 t-shirts. This is the reason why. And they're coming directly from China. They are made of recycled plastic. But the problem is when you're wearing polyester, you don't think that you're wearing plastic. So when you get rid of your polyester clothing, by then what you're doing is taking plastic that had been recycled into some other form of usable plastic, and then you have thrown it out, and now it is actually going to not be able to break down, and it'll probably be in a landmine or coming to a local water source near you. So one thing we can do is prevent these issues by how we shop. Shopping used to be a quantity kind of thing, and it's really become a quality kind of thing. And it's very cool, again, because these are victories for us. We have the options now of 100% hemp. We have linen, we have bamboo. We have all these beautiful natural things, cotton, all these wonderful, wonderful elements that are natural, can be sustainable and organic. And so, it's a new time, it's easier than ever. I remember going vegetarian for my first time. It was like in the 80s. And I think we had one vegetarian burger and it was so terrible. And, most of us just didn't last. And, it was like in high school, it was kind of a big movement back then. But now it's so easy that really, if you're concerned about the future, make ethical shopping choices. I always talk about my favorite place to go, which is buycott.com. Let me put this up here for everybody. You can just put this on your phone and you can make sure that whatever you're buying follows your ethics. That's what's important. If we all live by our own ethics, we live by them. And we have to remember that we also can change the world by them. Revolution through routine. Tell the companies what you like by what you buy. It's just that simple. That's the only thing they know. So we can do this. We can really do it. So anyway, I wanted to give everybody good news. Coffee is changing because of our voice being raised. The way companies are being built and architectures are looking at offices is changing because of what we're demanding and the natural materials that are innovatively being used to give us options away from synthetic fibers, beautiful things like hemp, organic cotton. These are things we can look towards and think about. Canvas as well. Canvas is, I know it's a difficult one, but it is a good alternative it's best used in clothing and reused and recycled. So everybody, I just wanted to say good morning. I hope everybody's having a wonderful day. I just wanted to talk about a couple of the positive changes. These are the long-term changes that we have been waiting to see. People that started Earth Day back in the 70s. We're hoping to see this back in the 70s. But remember, it takes a while. Please don't get discouraged. Remember, we are all one team. We're part of one army for a better future. It's not going to be immediate. We're never going to really be able to tell all the work we're doing right away. We don't get that instant gratification, unfortunately. I've always envied the guy that can pick up the guitar, play the song, and have instant gratification, but that's not us. So we have to keep fighting. We have to keep speaking. We have to keep the conversation alive. We have to always come back, fight against what they're doing to us, but fight it with love, positivity, and good solutions. And thank you, Coralie. On a personal level, before we go, I'll just let everybody know, my medicine that I was on, my chemo radiations mix in my pill, experimental pill, what got so toxic that I actually was not able to move for a few days, and I was stuck having really severe spasms. So it's another reason why the show has been a little inconsistent. I just physically have not been able to be here present. The doctors took some blood tests, found a lot of alarming markers that were very high. So they've taken me off my medicines, and I have decided to take off the medicine for a little while and focus back on conservation. So I'm just going to, the problem with my cancer is it's not going to go away. So I have to manage it. So I'm now entering a phase where it's going to start to grow back. So this is where my clock starts ticking. So, game on. I got to get back out in the field. Got to make things happen. So thank you though, Coralie. I'm feeling a lot better. It was very rough for me the last few weeks. Things were really declining fast with my medicines and the way that it was overtaking my ability to literally do anything. And I do feel a lot better now. So it's nice to see everybody again. And I have missed everybody. I know I've been gone for a bit. Like I said, I've been physically just unable to, at some days, even sit up. But recovering from that. And time to get back out, time to make a difference, I know we're all feeling that itchiness after COVID. Everybody wants to get out and get back out there and make a difference. Coralie, you are out there making a difference. So Coralie, you've always been one of my inspirations too with activism, because you've just always walked the walk and do it no matter what. So, I always appreciate that. Excuse me. Pardon me, everybody. It's the other side of coffee. Anyway, I hope everybody's having a wonderful coffee. I hope everybody's happy, healthy, feeling good. Remember, you're not alone. We're all here together. If you feel alone, send me an email. Don't send me a message on Facebook. I'm banned on Facebook. For some reason, I can do these live things. But everybody, I forgot to mention this also. I'll start talking about this more. I need to move everybody to stay with me over to my website, ericecrown.com. or over to my YouTube channel. Please make a move over. Facebook, I believe, may never let me back due to my calls for change in environmentalism and the way that we approach things through the U.S. government, including my problem with Andrew Wheeler, public enemy number one, coal lobbyist, now head of the EPA. Nobody would believe me unless they didn't know it was true, and sadly it is true. But I do speak out quite a bit against him, and I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but I do know that I was mysteriously blocked from doing anything on Facebook, and then everybody got the new updates letting you know that anything that could make Facebook in trouble with anybody is no longer going to be allowed to be posted. Very odd. Anyway, it reminds me of that South Park where they had to get rid of the Christmas song, and then they had to get rid of everything, and then it became the Christmas play became a new age show. Anyway, but so we, look, this is all part of it, everybody. We have to remain together. We have to stay together. We have to find ways to stay together because they don't like for us to be together. The more we're together, the more problems we cause for the status quo. And that's what we need to do. Let's go shake it up. That's our team. It is our world. Let's talk about it. We will be starting next week with consistent conservation coffees, and the conservation conversation will be back next week. We're not going to have it this week. We're just doing a quick conversation today with our coffees instead. But please remember, we're going to be kicking back in this week. It's good to see everybody. I am back from my zombie time. And everybody, remember, it's our world. Let's talk about it. Have a wonderful, wonderful Saturday. And I can't wait to see everybody tomorrow for another Conservation Coffee.